Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to do a torchon edge stitch, which is used if you want to create a straight edge or if you want to attach it to a piece of fabric, because what it does is it gives you a very strong edge in which to do your sewing to attach it to fabric. The other thing that I'm going to show you is how to start your lace at a point. So this is a pricking that I'm going to be using. So this is very much if you wanted to do a bookmark. Quite often bookmarks start with a point, and this is one of the methods that you can use. Although this is a very small version, we've only got 6 pairs. It's a method that you can use to start a bookmark, and even if you've got more pinholes, you can continue in exactly the same way down each side. Now, one of the first things that you need to remember with a torchon edge stitch is that you need at least 1 extra pair for the edge. So with this one, we're going to have 2 extra pairs because I'm doing it down this side and down this side. And those extra pairs come into play on these pins here, which are in between our 2 main pins. Now, whenever you start with a pinhole at the top, we're going to need 2 pairs. So this is one way that you can count how many pairs you need. Because we need 2 pairs, 1 to go this way and 1 to go that way. So that's 2. Then we've got, if we start this side, that's 3, 4, and 1 extra for our torchon edge, which is 5. And then we go to the other side. We've already counted this one. So that's 6, 7, 1 extra for our torchon edge, which is 8 pairs. And obviously that will be the same with the more pinholes that you have. So you always need to remember that if you're doing a torchon edge, you can you'll need to add on extra pairs for that edge stitch. The first thing that I'm going to do is pop a pin in that red pinhole, which on my patterns generally signifies 2 pairs. And then we're going to hang 2 pairs open. So oh, my pairs are a little bit long, so let me just shorten those. Now this edge was used specifically when in years gone by the lace was so precious that they would cut it off one dress and put it onto another dress. So that's why it's such a strong edge, and it's a really important edge that can be popped wherever you want. It can be used in a fan, it can be used down a straight edge like this, in a trail, and we can basically add it to any edge that you want to. So I've hung my pairs open, but again I want my pairs to be back in their original colours, so I'm just going to lift this blue thread over, so I've got blue, green, blue, green. Now, if I was to just go straight into my twist, I would end up with 2 loops, because there's my first loop and then my green is my second loop. So in order to counteract that, I'm going to lock the threads together by putting 2 twists on. So that's 1 twist, right over left, and that's my second twist. And generally, whenever I start a bookmark, I want it to be a very strong edge, so I would do a cross stitch and twist. If I do a cross stitch and twist now, you'll see that my pairs are split up. So on this first pin, I'm actually only going to do a half stitch, just so that I've manipulated my threads back together. And it's going to be a fairly strong stitch because I've got the twists on there. So the next thing that I'm going to do is pop my support pin in my pinhole. So these I've put in as your support pins. So I'm going down to the right first. So let me hang a new pair on that pin. Just shorten my threads again. So, and then putting a support pin in, because at the moment there's nothing supporting the lace, which is why it's called a support pin, because it supports the threads as I work them into my stitch. So this is the pinhole that I'm going to, and I'm going to do a cross stitch, twist both pairs, pin up, and close that with a cross stitch and twist both pairs. I'm then going to carefully take out my support pin, keep my pin in my loop and pull it down. And that's my first pair on my right put in. The next pin that I've got to do is this one here, which is going to be where I put my extra thread for my torchon edge. Now this one is just a pair that is just worked and it never moves. It doesn't really get pinned up. It's just there to do the torchon edge. So I don't need to put this one on a support pin. All I'm going to do is pop a pin straight in the pinhole. I'm then going to take my torchon edge pair, and all my pairs seem to be a bit long at the moment. So let me just... Okay, so I've just going to place that on the pin that I put in there like that. So as I said before, this pair is just literally going to travel down the edge here. It doesn't move into your work at all. It should stay exactly where it's placed, and it literally just follows straight down. So I need this pair, this yellow pair on the left, to work a stitch with another pair to work into this pinhole here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cross stitch and twist through that pair, and that's it. What's going to feel really strange is the fact that you're not pinning up, you're just literally working through it, and then that's it. So now I have the pair that I need to work this edge pin with a new pair. So I can take my new pair and hang it on a support pin. Now this first stitch is going to make sure that all my pairs are in securely. So this first stitch I'm just going to do as a cross stitch and twist. So my new pair's on a support pin, so I'm just going to work through in a cross stitch and twist. And for this very first pin, because it's on the edge and it's the start of my bookmark, or it's the start of anything that doesn't have anything sewn into it, for this stitch I'm going to put the pin in between the two pairs as normal, and then I'm going to close that with a cross stitch and twist. Now this will become obvious as to why I'm specifically telling you this in a minute when we get to the next row, because when you do anything from now on, it's slightly different pinning up on the edge. So that's all my pairs in. But before I go back to the other side, if I don't take this yellow pair through my purple pair will go off into my work, and I don't want that. I need to have this pair running in a straight line down. So in order to do that, I'm literally going to cross stitch and twist the two pairs together, and now that is all set up to start my ground stitch, sorry, my edge stitch, and I'm ready to come down with my next threads. So I'm ready to come down this line here, and now you have a choice at this point. You could come down this line or you could come down this line. So I'm going to come down this line and show you the first part of your ground stitch on that side. It's entirely up to you as to how you do this, in what order you do this, but I would try and keep it consistent, because then you get into the routine of going, yes, I'm always going that way. There will be points where it's not possible to carry on in that direction and you will need to change direction, but at the moment we can just come straight down this line, and this will now start to become a bit clearer to you when I say that at this point we're doing a cross stitch and twist and pin in between the pairs, because we're going to do something slightly different at that end. So this is my next pinhole, and I'm just literally, I've got my pair on a support pin, cross stitch and twist the two together, pin up and close with a cross stitch and twist both pairs. So carefully lift my support pin out and pull it down, and I'll pop that back in because we'll need that in a minute. And I'm now ready to take my blue down. Now here is the point where you have a choice, because we're into ground stitches And in my previous videos I showed you that you have a choice as to which stitch you can do for your ground stitches. You can either do a half stitch pin half stitch, or a cross stitch and twist pin cross stitch and twist, and both of them will create a completely different look. The other option is if you wanted to keep the threads in exactly the same place, you could also use a cross stitch and twist to keep the threads where they are, or a half stitch twist. So it's entirely up to you. I'm going to keep this simple because it's all concentrating on the edge stitch. So I'm just going to do a half stitch, pin up and close with a half stitch. This will also show you exactly what happens to your pairs. Because I've got them all in different colours, it will show you exactly what happens to the pairs when they travel backwards and forwards. So now I'm ready to do the next one here. So I'm coming down this line. So I'm going to do half stitch, pin up and close with a half stitch. So now I have just one pin left at the end of my row, but I have two pairs, and up until now we've only been dealing with one pair on each pin. So we've got this extra pair here because this orange comes from the pin, not this one. This is the pair that is our torchon edge and it comes straight down. So all I'm going to do with this is cross stitch and twist through both using both pairs, and I've now got my blue which is coming down this line to this pin here, and I've got my orange. Now generally if you've got one pair in your torchon edge, you could have more, and I will cover that in the next part because I feel this edging needs a couple of videos, one to show it as a bookmark and where you don't join into it, and a second one where you use say you're doing a square and you're coming all the way around and you're having to sew into it. So there's going to be two parts to this edge stitch, but for this one we're just doing a cross stitch and twist, and we only have the one pair in our edging. So I've gone through that pair and I'm now going to do a cross stitch and twist both pairs with my last pair on the right. I'm then going to put an extra twist on my blue pair because my blue pair is going to end up going straight down, and the distance between this pin and this pin is greater than this pin and this pin. So you want this one to be slightly stronger and longer. So that's why I've done a cross stitch and twist and put an extra twist on this end pair. Now traditionally, up until now, generally, as I like to say, we've been pinning up between the two pins. However, this is now going to change because we want to create a really strong edging. Now in order to do that, instead of pinning up between the two pairs that have made the pinhole, on a torchon edge you pin up between the second and third pair from the edge. So this is our edge and this is our second and third pair. So that's 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to pin up between pairs 2 and 3 from my edge, like so. And usually what happens at this point is my students tend to have a little panic and they go, but the pin's not closed. It's not closed because I haven't done the last stitch to close it, but it will be closed because what I'm going to do now is a cross stitch and twist with this second pair and third pair from the edge, which will then close this pin off, and we're leaving the blue behind. So I'm going to do my cross stitch and twist both pairs, and what's happened is this orange pair is now back into my work to do this pin here. So that's our first ground stitch done. Now what happens is that this edging creates an appearance of a ladder, so you have bigger holes so that you can then do the sewing onto the fabric in those holes. It also creates a straight edge, Whereas up to now, when we've done a trail, we've got a bobbly edge. We're now going to end up with a straight edge because we'll have pairs that travel straight down and back into the work, as opposed to the edge and then back in again. So I'm going to move these back across, and I've now got this pin here, which on the other side we know was where we added in our extra pair for our torchon edge. So again, as I did on the other side, I'm going to put my pin straight in, and I'm going to hang that pair on the support pin. So there's my pair that is going to do my torchon edge. So now I'm ready to add my final pair for this pin here. So I'm just going to shorten that, and let's pop that, shorten that thread. These bobbins have a habit of unwinding when you don't need them to. So there's my new pair. Now, some of you may, in traditional lace, it was always thought that you needed a twist on these pairs. But having done these videos, I've discovered that you put the twist on, and then when you take the support pin out, the twist untwists. So I'm now not bothering to put my twist on, because if it's coming off, there's no point in putting a twist on. So that's why I've not bothered with this, because the minute you take the pin out, the threads just untwist. So there's no point. So I need to work my red, my new pair here on my support pin, but I don't want to use this pair because it's my straight down pair. So I need to take this one here, this cream pair, and cross stitch and twist through that pair. And remember, you're not pinning up at this point. This pair is literally just hanging around. It's just going to be worked backwards and forwards, but it's not going anywhere. And this is why I put all my pairs in different colours, because if you suddenly find this pair going off over in a different direction, you know something's gone wrong. So now I'm going to do cross stitch and twist both pairs. Now this is the point, because it's right at the start, and there's nothing to support this pair if I pin up between the second and third. So I'm just going to pin up in between the two for this one time, right at the start, just so I get all my pairs secured, and then I can start doing my edge stitch. So I've done my cross stitch and twist, pinned up, closed with a cross stitch and twist both pairs. I'm going to pull that one down, and then I'm going to take my cream pair back through my straight down pair, and that is now ready to work this next row down. So I'm going to do I've got 3 rows, 3 pins here of half stitch, pin, half stitch. So let's do those quickly. So there's my first one going in. There's my second one. And you'll see my cream has travelled all the way down, and it's now back at the edge on this side. So I'm just giving everything a little bit of attention at this point, because when you're dealing with cross stitch and twist in this thick thread on this edge, there's a lot going on. There's lots of crosses and twists, so it's worth just giving it a bit of attention just to keep an eye on your threads. So now I'm ready to do my last pin here, and the pair that I want, which is coming in my diagonal line, is this cream pair, because if you lay that diagonally down, you can see it goes to that pinhole. It doesn't go straight down, and it doesn't go back on itself. So we need to have this cream pair over here to work with the very last pair, but we've got this straight down pair in the way. So all we're going to do is cross stitch and twist through that pair. So we're now at the edge again, and we're going to do our cross stitch and twist both pairs, put an extra twist on our end pair because we're on the edge, and that's the last pair. Now this is what's going to happen quite regularly. You're going to want to pin up between the two, but you don't. You pin up between 2 and 3 from the edge. So there's my edge pair, there's my second pair, there's my third pair. So pin up, and then I'm just going to close it using my straight down pair and the pair that is next to it, the second pair from the edge. So cross stitch and twist those two, and off we go again, back up to the top of our row. So you can see what happens. This blue pair has come down diagonally, then straight down, and it is now going to go diagonally down in this direction here. This purple pair is traveling straight down and hasn't moved at any point from the position that I set it up in at the start. So now we're going back up to the top, and we've got to take our green pair through to our red. So if we lay this is our next pinhole, lay the green pair in a diagonal line, so you can see it's going diagonally, it's not going down, and it can't go that way because there's no pinholes. So it's got to go out to this pinhole. But again, we've got our straight down pair, this purple one, in the way. So we're just literally cross stitching and twisting through it, and that's it, done. No pinning up, nothing. You don't want to pin up. That is literally just sort of floating around, hanging around, ready to come through so you can do your edge stitch. So we're now on the left. We've been doing our edge stitch on the right, and we now have our pairs set up to do our edge stitch on the left. So the first thing we're going to do is cross stitch and twist our 2 edge pairs together, and then we're going to put an extra twist on this green pair because it's the one that's going to be left behind, so to speak, because we're going to leave it there. And this time we're pinning up again from our between our second and third pair from the edge. Just so happens that the edge happens to be on the left this time. So that's pair 1, that's pair 2, that's pair 3. Pin up between 2 and 3. Give everything a little bit of attention, and then we're going to close that pin, because at the moment that pin's not closed, by working pairs 2 and 3 together in a cross stitch and twist. And our straight down pair is still running straight down. We've got our edge pair here, and we've got our red pair that goes into our next pinhole, because again, if we lay it diagonally, you can see it lays in that direction. It can't go straight down because we've got 2 pairs here, so it has to go diagonally. So again, I'm going to do my half stitch pins, half stitch down, and just keep following my three pins. So I've kept this pattern quite small because I wanted you to concentrate on the edge, not the ground. We've covered ground in the previous video, so this time we just really want to be making sure that we know what we're doing on the torchon edge. So I now have 1 pin left, and I've got my pair here, my straight down pair, and my red pair. Lay it in the direction. It's just literally pick it up and lay it diagonally, and you can see where it's going, because it doesn't want to go that way because that will distort your lace, and it doesn't want to go straight down because generally it all goes diagonally. So I have to take my red through my straight down pair, cross stitch and twist both pairs, and I'm now ready to cross stitch and twist through my end pair. And I've cross stitch and twist, extra twist on my red because that's the pair we're leaving behind. Take my pin and pin up between 2 and 3 from the edge. Here's my edge here, that's pair 1, 2, 3. Pin up between those 2 and close with a cross stitch and twist both pairs with the straight down pair. So we're we kind of leave that one behind for a minute, and we want the cream pear to come back into the work. So again, you can see what's happened is come down, then diagonally, then down and back in. And what you will start to see are these big loops. So that's where you'll be doing sewing if you want to attach it to your lace. The other thing you will notice is that you can start to see your straight down edges. So here we go, back over to here. This is our highest point here because it's right at the top. So we're going to come down that one. So we check our pairs. Our yellow's going diagonally because you can see the diagonal line at the moment. So we need to take that pair through our hanging around our straight down pair. So cross stitch and twist through. No pin up needed because that pair doesn't get pinned up. And now we're going to do a cross stitch and twist with our last pair and pin up. Oh, but we're not pinning up between the two, we're pinning up between our second and third. So that's our first, that's our second, and that's our third. And believe me, this is a mistake that you will, as you can see, even when you know what you're doing, you will still make it because you're so used to just pinning between the two. So there's our pin, and we're just going to close it by cross stitching and twisting our straight down pairs, which will take it back into our work. So I'm going to do a couple more rows, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like when it goes slightly wrong. I've come down a couple more rows, and you can now definitely see my straight line down on each side, and you can see exactly what happens with the pairs and this nice straight line. So now I'm going to show you what happens if things go slightly askew with, and what to look out for, because it becomes fairly obvious very quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I need to do this pin here, and this is the pair that will do it. So as I've been doing before, I'm going to take this one and cross stitch and twist through that pair. I'm then going to cross stitch and twist through my edge pair and put an extra twist on this one, which is what I do normally. Now, instead of pinning up between 2 and 3, I'm going to pin up between my first and second one. So at the moment, everything looks fine, everything looks normal, and if you were working all in the same colour, you wouldn't necessarily think about it. So I've closed that pin, and now I'm going to work with this straight down one, because you generally work with the next pair along. So this would be your next pair along. So I'm going to work that into this pinhole with this blue pair. So I'm going to do my half stitch, pin up, close that with a half stitch. Then I'm going to bring in the next pair, work a half stitch, pin up and close with a half stitch. Then my next pair, oh, this thread's a bit stuck there. So I'm just working down my row as I would do normally with my pins. Now the first thing that I notice that something is wrong, now just bear in mind this is a very small piece. If you have 10 pinholes to come down, it might take you a little while to actually realise something's wrong. But the first inkling that I get is the fact that I now have 3 pairs and 1 pinhole. So that immediately alerts you to the fact that there is something gone askew with, because you've got, up until now, you've only had the 2 pairs into the 1 pinhole, and now you have 3. The other thing that will alert you, and when I say to my students, stand up and look down on your lace, because when you're looking at it, sitting down, making it, you're looking at it from this viewpoint. But when you stand up and look down, you're looking at it from this viewpoint, and that is the point where you will notice little mistakes. So with this one, the first thing you notice is these lines aren't going diagonally. So they should be carrying on. So this cream pear should actually be coming to this pin, not this one. It's gone straight down instead of diagonally. And this is caused because we didn't pin up between your second and third. Back here, we pinned up between the first and second. So what we have done is pushed all of our pears one pin further down, because then we made the next pin with our straight down pear, and then everything else followed one pin below. So this is a common error that can happen when doing a torchon ground, because you forget, and it's so easy to do. As you've seen, I've done it a few times, but I've always remembered as I'm about to close the pin. So it's always worth just double checking that you've pinned up between the second and third pair, not the first and second. So that's generally what will happen. And like I say, the first thing that you will notice is probably when you reach the bottom of your row and you've got more pairs than you actually should have. And the second way of noticing is to stand up, look down onto your lace, and you'll see your lines. And if your lines aren't going diagonally, that will also then raise issues, because they're not coming in the direction that they need to be at the moment for this particular piece of lace. There is a honeycomb where they do come straight down, and I've made a video on that one, but this is where I think lace is just a little bit harder to grasp than some crafts, because it has its rules and then it breaks them. It's lovely. So hopefully that's made sense, and like I say, in the next video I will show you how to set up your lace for a torchon edge if you needed to sew back into it. This particular one is done for a bookmark. The other thing that I just want to add is, at the moment we've only used one straight down pair. You can put 2 or 3 in here, or it might just be a trail, so you have a worker that goes backwards and forwards, but you would do it in exactly the same way. So hopefully that's all made sense, and if you enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe, and in my next video I will show you how to set it up if you need to sew your pairs into a torchon edge. Thanks for watching.